GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I believe it's a big challenge for our building to keep things in perspective and to, if we're going to get addicted to anything, let's get addicted to the process.
And with that, we welcome you to Trust the Podcast, powered by Better Live Than Dead and the Gear Radio Network. This here is episode 152.
Episode 152, my babies. Buffalo Bills versus Arizona Cardinals. Yes, I read that. I read that on your behalf, Ryan.
That was a last minute decision, and I like it. It worked out pretty well.
All right. Indeed.
You can hear us on betterlivethanddead.com, yournetwork.com, and wherever else you listen to the podcast or listen to this podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe, like, follow, whatever the podcast platform says to do to stay in touch with us. Do it.
Yes.
So that way you can stay up to date in the latest podcast, because John, we've talked about it.
What's that?
The Buffalo Bills schedule to start off the season, a little funky. So we're going to be getting podcasts in on Tuesday nights, on Saturdays, on Sundays, on Mondays, on whatever day of the week. We don't know when the podcast is coming out. We just know that it is coming out.
At some point, eventually, and inevitably, there will be football on every day of the week. So you never know when we will eventually be dropping these podcasts. So if you, the listening audience, are subscribed, regardless of what day Ryan and I decide to come together and congregate about your Buffalo Bills, you'll be in the know. You'll know when a new episode drops. Gently tap that subscribe button. Por favor y gracias.
I like that. Now we're a bilingual podcast as well. Look at that. We're making waves.
Bilingual, yeah. Well, you know, I saw a promo the other day with Randy Savage, and he said, no es Tito Santana, no es nobody, nada. I'm the Intercontinental Champion of the world. I figured I have to speak a different language.
I like it. That was
I'll forward you that. It was freaking. I'd never seen that before. Pro wrestler Titus Smith sent that to me the other day, and he had never seen it before either. He was like, "Bro, I've never seen this before. Have you seen it?" And I saw it. I was freaking dying, and it was hilarious.
That's amazing. The Macho Man Randy Savage is the gift that never stops giving.
He will never die.
He's unlike that Jabroni Hulk Hogan. Macho Man is the true immortal one. Dig it.
Hell yeah, brother. I don't know what to say. I'm just always so impressed with your Macho Man Randy Savage impression.
How about we talk about starting in style? Buffalo flips the script in the second half to beat the Arizona Cardinals 34-28. Ryan,
Before we get started, I'm Ryan Wolfe, John Cimino, my co-host. As always, we're here to talk the Buffalo Bills, like John said, or Macho Man said. Buffalo flips the script in the second half to defeat the Arizona Cardinals 34-28. The score is not indicative of the game that we saw. It was very much a game of two halves. But before we get to that, Buffalo improves to 6-2 in home openers under head coach Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott has now recorded wins against 30 of 31 NFL teams, the only team without a win against the Philadelphia Eagles, which arguably the Bills probably should have beat the Eagles last season, but hills to die, and I'm not ready to do that. Also, a fun one, John, that I was talking about with my wife here off the air. A stat that you don't care about, but you're going to get anyways. I have often told people the Buffalo Bills, the first game I remember watching was the Music City Miracle. Since that game, for me, the Buffalo Bills are 178 and 193 and 5-6 in the playoffs. My first child, who is actively coming downstairs right now, the Buffalo Bills are 29-9 in her lifetime, 3-3 in the playoffs. And my daughter, the reason I thought of this, was her first Bills game on Sunday. Bills are 1-0 in her lifetime.
Let me ask you something. With this being the first game for her in her lifetime, did she have any sort of Bills swag on at the time? Bib, anything, the whole nine?
I will send you photos. I'll send you photos because Evelyn, we've obviously decked her out in Bills gear, and Amelia, she has some Bills gear as well, some hand-me-down Bills gear, but some new Bills gear as well. Because the one thing I've learned as a parent is that it doesn't. Your new children don't need new clothes because they're just going to puke and poop on them. So
that's what those consignment shops are for, brother.
Exactly, or even better, yard sales, which my wife and mother-in-law are the masters of. But yes, there was Bills gear. I will make sure to share that photo with you. And
nice, yeah,
Mr.
absolutely.
Perez.
That would be wonderful. I remember, I mean, when my two were younger, I had Jets things for them now, and of course now they're a bit older and they're more focused on cheer and things like that or whatever. But the sentiment was always there. You know, their sentimental favorite. I know this is a Bills Talk podcast, but you know, Bills Mafia favorite Jets fan, that gimmick. The sentiment is with the Jets. Although it's funny that you mentioned this and you have this stat that you don't care about, because I had mentioned a stat today in the normal 9 to 5 that was similar, but completely flipped. You see, the Jets drought currently right now started the year that my oldest daughter was born. So playfully, I think I'm going to blame it on her.
I like what you did there. That's incredible.
Because before she was born, the Jets were in and out of the playoffs every 2 years. You know, I just sent those over to you, John. They'd be there. You know, they'd be there 1 year, and then the next year, then they'd be off 1 year, and then they'd be on 1 year, then they'd be off 2. But you know, it was kind of like that. You know, where at least you got something sprinkled in here and there. But ever since Gianna was born, I don't know what happened. But anywho,
something happened. But I can't imagine it's her fault. But then again, that's how curses start, man. Was the curse of the Bambino real?
Oh my goodness! Look at her.
Hard to say.
Yeah. Look at them. Wow. Adorable.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, that. Ryan. So cute.
Make some cute kids.
the little one has the pizza man look right on her face right there.
Right, she's like
looking like get that camera out my face.
I got a couple of them. There's one where I was holding her and she was staring at the TV and just was like, it was like 17-3 at that point or whatever. And she was just like, no, this is what I signed up for. But getting to our three big things here, brought to you by puckluck.com. John, hockey, a few weeks away today.
A few weeks away.
Time of recording. It's the evening of the 10th of September. The Buffalo Sabres posted today that they have put the ice in and painted the ice at KeyBank Center with their brand new gigantic video board that is well overdue. Way too overdue.
Nice.
But again, hockey right around the corner. No better time to check out puckluck.com, your one-stop resource for all your National Hockey League sports betting action. Puckluck provides win percentages and score projections for each and every National Hockey League game to tilt the ice in your favor. Not sure what to bet or just in a rut? Not to worry. Puckluck also provides expert picks to get the puck bouncing your way. Please note, puckluck.com, no way affiliated with the National Hockey League, its teams, or the NHLPA. Puckluck.com provides data related to gambling and cannot guarantee the success of any suggested or related wagers. As always, please gamble responsibly. Now, John, wrapping up the offense here before we get started, big news coming down prior to the game, prior to the I would say days before the game. We're not talking Dak Prescott here where it's like 10 minutes before they come out of the tunnel, new contract.
Holy crap. What a wild, and we could talk about this at another time.
Oh, we will.
Another podcast, but wild.
No. Scroll on down to the podcast. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here. We'll call that in the biz a teaser, my friend. That we'll get just with that right there. We'll get Mr. Perez to listen just a little longer to our podcast here.
There we go.
Offensive lineman Spencer Brown coming into week one. The Bills announced a 4-year contract extension with terms subsequently reported today as a 4-year, $72 million deal with $19.855 million guaranteed with void years added. At Greg Thompson on Twitter says this is essentially a 3-year, $38 million deal through 2026. Even with the warts in Brown's game, John, getting a young offensive line talent locked up long-term is a great move.
You better believe it. Absolute great move. And the fact that they got it in coming into week one, that I don't know. I don't know if that's a new precedent that's being set, considering all of the other week one news, contract extensions, things that have happened. But good on Buffalo getting Spencer Brown in here, keeping him in the process, keeping him trusting the podcast, if you will. Great move by Buffalo overall.
And again, we saw Spencer Brown have a bit of back and forth. Some rough play on Sunday, some good things, some bad things. It's week one, but again, it's like anything in life. Once that microscope gets twisted in your direction, oh, now you've got the big contract. Let's see how you respond.
Yes, of course.
You're paying more attention to him. So,
yeah, I mean, they could pay more attention to him, but as long as they got number 17 on that team is always going to be in contention.
Speaking of number 17, Josh Allen.
Hold on.
Dog.
18 of 23, 232 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 9 rushes for 39 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. His QBR of 90.1 was best of the week 1 games as of Monday night, but seeing how Aaron Rodgers and Brock Purdy played, I'm willing to bet that's the answer there.
I'm sure that is a safe bet there. I mean, before you go run down, I just got to say again, it's kind of ties back to last week's podcast where we were talking about that ridiculous overrated list that we were talking about, and we were both kind of like, what the hell is this all about? Dude, if you came into that game saying, yeah, Josh Allen is overrated, I don't know how you wake up.
There were people on Twitter.
The dude is a freaking unit. The Buffalo Bills have an absolute freaking wrong one.
Dog.
Got a dog. Got a unit and quarterback. And I mean, he turned it up. And when he turned it up there, he's very, very hard to beat. Buffalo Bills are very hard to beat when he is on like he's on.
And again, didn't blow the cover off the ball with 400-yard passing day or 100 yards rushing. Did exactly what needed to be done to win the game. Again, his QBR was the highest. Indianapolis quarterback Anthony Richardson in his laser arm, second best with an 87.7 QBR. Josh Allen recorded his 54th and 55th career rushing touchdowns on Sunday, the most of any quarterback by 2018. Johnny's 2 rushing touchdowns behind O.J. Simpson for second most all-time in franchise history. OJ had 57. He's 10 rushing touchdowns behind Thurman Thomas for the most all-time in franchise history at 65. He can go ahead and pass OJ as soon as possible. That'd be great. I was going to say it stands. He had 15 last season. It stands to be that Josh Allen could be the franchise record holder for most rushing touchdowns in Buffalo Bills history, and that's by the end of the season.
That's insane when you consider the long history of the Buffalo Bills. When you consider growing up in the era of Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly and all those great historic Bills teams, to be in that upper echelon and passing them at this point in time right now. Again, Josh Allen, absolute friggin'
dog,
absolute friggin' unit. Whoever them 103, 104, 105, 106 people that said he was overrated, you can kiss my
dog.
That was it.
I like that. That was great. That was fantastic. Sorry, buddy. I like that a lot. It's early season, but you got the blood flowing, man. I'm feeling the vibe right now. Look at.
Well, I mean, I've just been saying, I feel like I've been regurgitating this point for the better part of the past 6 seasons now that I've been co-host of this podcast. Putting over Josh Allen. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Not only is Josh Allen,
I get very defensive about 17, as you can tell.
I appreciate that. Being Bills Mafia's biggest Jets fan, you'd figure you'd be like, man, that guy needs to go away. Yeah,
no, hell no.
Get him out of here.
Ryan, day one. What did I tell you?
Hey, you're the one that called it on this podcast.
What did I called it right. I called it on the day of the draft, and then I called it on the podcast. Day one. Josh Allen. I've been a Josh Allen guy since day friggin' one.
So not only is Josh Allen almost the holder of the second most rushing touchdowns in franchise history, but Josh Allen's 168th and 169th passing touchdowns put him 12 passing touchdowns behind Joe Ferguson for second most all-time in franchise history.
He's gonna pass that this season
is
too.
At 181. All things considered, yes, you would think so. Yeah, absolutely. It's the 37th career game with both a passing and rushing touchdown, most by an NFL player since Allen entered the league in 2018, ranking second. Weird that it works out this way. Kyler Murray, he only has 18 such games.
Jeez, he's got him by almost 20. That's insane. That is insane.
225 career touchdowns, ties Dan Marino and Peyton Manning for the second most touchdowns all time in a player's first 7 seasons.
Oh
Patrick
my God,
Mahomes,
he's so overrated. Oh my God.
Patrick Mahomes owns the record with 231 total touchdowns in his first 7 seasons, which Josh Allen should surpass shortly. I understand.
Mhm.
Patrick Mahomes did not play his first full season. Who cares? He can go piss off.
I like Patrick Mahomes. Don't get me wrong. Well, yeah, I do. I like Patrick Mahomes. I respect his game. He's got the 3 Super Bowls right now, but it's Josh Allen time here. I mean, friggin' unit. Sorry, go ahead.
Look at respect Patrick Mahomes for all he's done. Wish he would go away. Sounds like Tom Brady again. I've PTSD. It's a 20th career game with 2+ passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, tied with quarterback Aaron Rodgers, also at 20 for the second most such games all time. Cam Newton holds that all time record with 22 such games.
He did it in freaking 17 years. Aaron Rodgers just started season 20. That's 7 years, not 17 years.
Here's another one that's impressive, John. 4th career game for Josh Allen with 2+ passing and 2+ rushing touchdowns, tying quarterback Steve Young for the most such games all time.
Oh my God, man!
I was going to send you an audio.
Talking about
clip.
Hall of Famers.
I was going to send you an audio clip of a crowd chanting "overrated," because we've watched enough wrestling in our lives. We'll have to get one of those and maybe get me like a little bit of a bass, like a bass, a light bass track. You know
what I want to do? I want to find the soundbite of when the Roger Goodell announced that the Buffalo Bills selected Josh Allen, and I want the soundbite of the fans going, come on, wrong Josh. You know what I mean?
We can make that happen. We can make that happen.
I would love that, because anytime I hear any sort of Josh Allen hate, and I'm not talking about all you Josh Allen fans from like the last 3 or 4 years that are like, oh man, we're winning. He's great. Yay. I've been saying that since he came into the league. I want that so I could throw it in y'all's face.
So Josh Allen did suffer an apparent hand injury, which is not so apparent at this point. He suffered a hand injury to his left non-throwing hand. On Tuesday, he was seen practicing with a glove and a taped middle and ring fingers together, but has been cleared to practice and play. The suspicion is that he may have like a tendon or like a bone issue in his hand, something that will be a bit of a pain in the ass, no pun intended, for 3, 4, 5 weeks, but it will heal. It will get better on its own.
Absolutely. And the way that they described it too, what actually happened when you saw the replay, his right elbow came down, his right elbow and forearm, I kind of came down at full weight for that diving touchdown, landed right on his hand. So it wasn't like anything that, alignment did. He accidentally did it to himself. But you think of how big he is, coming down full weight on top of the forearm and the elbow from one hand onto the other hand, like all that weight like that, like I'm very surprised that
not
he
to die in the hill of
damage.
Not to die in the touchdown hill here, but you see Jalen Hurts get a lot of tush pushes. How many Michael Jordan Space Jam touchdowns does Jalen Hurts have? Because Josh Allen's got a few.
I would much rather the Michael Jordan Space Jam touchdowns than that stupid friggin' tush push, because there's a few things that there are not very many things that irk me, like to the point of like wanting to violently harm somebody. One is when Cowboys fans claim that they're going to win the Super Bowl every year, because that shit never happens. 2 is when Dolphins fans open their mouths, because they're the Cowboys fans of the AFC. And 3, it's that stupid tush push. I can't stand that damn tush push. It's that play needs to be outlawed.
I mean, the only time John likes to tush push, it ain't in football, my friends. Let's be real.
Heyo.
Bing bong. Anyways, defensive end Von Miller told the media. Exactly. We've got Josh Allen, man. We always going to have a chance in games. It didn't matter how much we were down. It didn't matter what it looked like. We just got so much trust in Josh Allen in the offense, and rightfully so. James Cook, 19 carries for 71 yards, 3 catches for 32 yards. Explosiveness was on display. Smart decision-making turned losses or small gains into something more. Exactly what we're hoping to see with James Cook coming into the 2024 season. Also, everyone was able to eat on Sunday. 9 different players, John, recorded at least 1 reception on Sunday. Keon Coleman led the offense with 4 receptions on 5 targets for 51 yards. Led the offense playing 73% of the offensive snaps, which was 45 plays. Wide receiver Khalil Shakir, who probably should get some more consideration for some targets, but Arizona's defense was playing relatively well on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills offense. 3 receptions on 3 targets for 42 yards and 1 touchdown. Also, wide receiver Mac Hollins had 2 receptions and 2 targets for 25 yards and a touchdown. They both recorded the 2 touchdown receptions in the game. Khalil Shakir has now scored a touchdown in 3 straight games, including the playoffs, after only recording 3 touchdowns in his first 33 NFL games.
I think you're going to see that increase throughout the season. I think he's proven himself to be someone that they can build around, or they can start really developing. And you've seen it now in the last few games with him just scoring a touchdown, getting open, doing the things he needs to do. I wouldn't be surprised to see those numbers start upticking more and more as these weeks go on.
So I wonder if ultimately, because I'm going to jump around just to one more thing here and then get back to the other point, but there's still speculation that Curtis Samuel's toe is not 100% based off his 17 offensive snaps on Sunday, only playing 27% of the offensive snaps in total. Sean McDermott did downplay this, but I mean, you're paying the guy a lot of money to only play 17 snaps. I can't believe that he's healthy. My thought being, at some point, you've got Keon Coleman, who again showed the ability to separate a bit on Sunday, and then also showed himself very well on some 50-50 balls where it's like, this is what Buffalo was said to be getting. And it's only 1 game, but he was very well on display, which that's very exciting to see. But again, the thought would be maybe one side is Coleman, one side is Samuel, and then you've got Khalil Shakir in the slot.
Yes, absolutely.
Shakir is so dynamic, and you saw that on Sunday with his ability to turn something in or nothing into something, I should say, and scoring a touchdown. I mean, it was fantastic. He's developing so fast before our eyes.
Sure.
The one thing that I do want to point out, excuse me, is that Marquez Valdez-Scantling was Buffalo's specific deep ball guy. He was called upon twice, had 1 reception on 2 targets for 19 yards, but it seemed like when he was in, he's running a deep post or whatever, and then they're just yeeting it up to him. And the first one, Josh Allen did overthrow it. Valdez-Scantling was past his man. That again comes to bite Buffalo in the ass and still continues to haunt them a little. But again, in a game where Buffalo won, you kind of look at it and go, whew, thank God that didn't mean anything. But still, the fact that they have the MVS specifically to be their deep guy, can't imagine that's going to last long, because teams, or maybe teams will start to lean on that and go, okay, MVS is your deep guy. He's coming out. They're going deep, and then Buffalo goes underneath or runs the ball.
They could. He could be a solid decoy there. One
thing I did want to point out too, that Dalton Kincaid, a lot of hype coming into the season, did not have a big game on Sunday by any stretch of the imagination. But if you watch back to the All-22 film, which is on Twitter, all over the place, you had Dalton Kincaid running into, it was almost like a contained defense. It's just there were like 4 or 5 guys around him at one time. There was no way you're throwing to him. So again, they essentially eliminated Dalton Kincaid instead of, you're going to beat us somewhere else. And they did.
They did. And to kind of go back to the speculation about Curtis Samuel and what you were talking about there, if this were a team, I'll just flat out say it, like the New York Jets or the Carolina Panthers or the New York Giants or one of those teams that, they're really dependent, like their offense is really dependent perhaps on one of the name players to be playing, then that might be a little bit more cause for concern. I think the Buffalo Bills have had and have certainly established that they have enough playmakers on the offensive side of the ball to afford to let Curtis Samuel incrementally build up his reps to kind of come back off of that toe injury. So I don't see this 17 offensive snaps as a cause for concern just yet. If we get to, let's say, week 3, week 4, and it's not any better than it has been, then that's where the concern comes in. Hey, how's his rehab going? What's really going on here? Is it attitude? Is it this? Is it, you know what I mean? But I think, again, either way, the Bills have quite a bit on offense that they could dial up. They can go to James Cook. They know they've got Josh Allen as the extra legs that they need to, if they need to, but they also know he can throw. And they know that Khalil Shakir is starting to kind of come into his own. They're going to develop Keon Coleman very well. Dalton Kincaid, he's a stud. I mean, I'm not overly concerned about Curtis Samuel at all. I think we'll see him get to where he's supposed to be in due time.
So looking as well, there was some play call decision making that did have Twitter in a little bit of an uproar. Fans were a little upset about it, understandably, because again, it's fourth and manageable, and Sean McDermott kicks a field goal, and it was late.
I wouldn't know. I'm no longer on Twitter, buddy.
That's what I'm here to tell you all about. Twitterless John. No longer scissoring. What do you call it, by the way? If you're not tweeting, are you Xing?
You know what? I don't know. It's
I still call it tweeting.
Everybody still says Twitter and tweet and things like that because it's been around forever like that. So
that's because Elon Musk is a fucking moron.
Yeah.
Nate Geary at Nate Geary Sports tweeted, quote, really appreciated McDermott's explanation of the decision to kick a field goal to go up 6. Said he was willing to go for it on 4th and 2 or less. Ended up at a 4th and long 3. Decided to take points. And Nate Geary said, I don't agree with him, but I like knowing his thought process. ESPN Sports Analytics writer Seth Walder pointed out, quote, kicking to go up 6 late, Bills? Yikes. The win percentage was 3.5% lower kicking the field goal at 82.8% than it was to go for it at 86.3%. But at the time, you have people telling you that stuff, but
right. But I'll tell you what, in the words of John Madden, sometimes you just got to kick the ball and take the points.
Well, I mean, and if it were the first half, I would say maybe go for it because, again, the Bills were struggling a bit in the first half, but that second half, the defense was cooking. I know the score does not appear to reflect that, but there was a kick 6. So again,
there was
when Arizona scored 17 points in the first half, and ends up with 28, with 7 of those points or 8 of those points being a kick 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I get it now. But moving the chain.
Let me ask you before you do that. Sure, before you go to moving the chains, I have to know the football fan in you. I don't know if you watched the XFL or the UFL or any of that to see these kickoffs in action. After week 1 of the National Football League utilizing this new kick return format, what do you think about it? Do you like it? Do you think it's better? Do you think it'll grow in time? Or are you more kind of the historian, or do you not care and think that maybe they should just start opposing teams at the 30-yard line and get rid of the kickoff altogether?
Doing something different, without breaking into what we're going to talk about here in a second of the 3 big things, doing something different is necessary for the National Football League because they want to make sure that this does not become a ceremonial kickoff, which week 1, we saw a lot of ceremonial kickoffs for sure. We saw some kickers. We saw it in the Bills game with Matt Prater of the Arizona Cardinals trying to kick the ball short to make it bounce around to maybe, because again, once the ball hits the zone, the players can be released. It doesn't have to be the guy touches it in the zone. The ball hits the zone. But if the ball doesn't hit the zone, it's automatically up to the 35 or whatever. So you're getting to the point where I do think that the NFL will have to incentivize more of a penalty. And I'm talking like 35, 40, God damn, maybe even do the 50. I don't care. Because again, I don't think that it's brilliant to bring the kickoff and make kickoff sexy again or whatever, because a lot of concussions, a lot of unnecessary injuries happen on kickoffs. We've seen it forever. But I think the answer that they have right now is a good one. They just may have to make it a little bit more, like I said, of a penalty. But someone on Twitter said, I wish I pulled the name when I saw this, but someone said the first kicker to figure out those dynamic rules and how to kick the ball and keep it off the ground till you get to the 20 is going to be a stupid rich person, because
100%
that will become a weapon so quick that you will have kickers who are all of a sudden, hey, I could hit a bottle top off of a Pepsi bottle from 75 yards away without knocking the bottle over type of accuracy. Not that there are kickers like that can do it now, but clearly Matt Prater, one of the greats. I don't know if I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but one of the all-time kicking greats. He's got a rocket leg on him, right?
Right.
Still struggled with the dynamic kickoff, and we'll see how it develops. But again,
if it's going to be the way of the world forever, as far as football is concerned, or at least for the here and now, the foreseeable future, I would expect to see it rechristened in the UFL. When the XFL and the I'm the resident spring football watcher guy here. When the XFL and the USFL merged, they kept the USFL kickoff rules, which was the traditional NFL rules. Of course, they did this at the same time the NFL said, hey, we're going to adopt the XFL rules. I would imagine if the NFL sticks with this, you can expect the UFL to really place an emphasis on this during the spring season. And that's where the NFL, I think, if this is going to be the way, you can bet NFL teams are going to be poaching the hell out of these spring kickers that have the experience doing this. So you may be onto something there, Ryan.
It makes the most sense. You find someone who can specialize in it and just rinse, lather, repeat. But moving the chains at Ben B. Baldwin says of the games played through Sunday night, Buffalo ranked second in the National Football League in, quote, offensive series results, which is the rate at which each team's offense turned a series into a new set of downs. Buffalo's offense turned 68% of their drives into a first down, at least one first down. 14% ended with a touchdown, 7% with a field goal, 7% with a punt, and 4% of their drives ended with a turnover. So again, that Bills offense, the demise, John, through at least 1 week, the demise of the Buffalo Bills offense greatly over-exaggerated.
Absolutely over-exaggerated. But now, early season comes a test, as we'll talk about after the last of the three big things when we start talking about Miami and Buffalo going there week 2. Fortunately, it's on a Thursday night, so I guess they're not going to have the issue with the sun beating on them. But
yeah,
still, big test coming up. Glad that they came in here and showed off what they showed off week 1, because Dolphins fan was all on board with the whole Buffalo is nothing. They're not going to be doing it. This is our year. We're going to run away with this and all that stuff. And now the tone is very, very different.
Okay.
Again, when you've got the unit, you've got 17 there, my brother, Bills are never going to be out of it.
Wrapping up the defense and special teams, second of the three big things. Going to run through this one real quick here. Defensive end Greg Rousseau, or Groot as they like to call him, 6 tackles, all solo, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits. 3 sacks ties Ben Williams, who had 3 sacks in 1983 versus the Miami Dolphins, for most sacks by a Buffalo defender in a season opener. 3 sacks also mark a single game career high for Rousseau. Greg Rousseau played 79% of the defensive snaps, which is a high watermark for Buffalo's defense. Normally they switch him out more often than that. But when you got a guy playing like that, good Lord, you do not take him off the field. Speaking of playing like that, John, defensive end Von Miller.
What did he do, Ryan?
Did not think I was going to be talking positive about Von Miller this early on in the season. 2 total tackles.
2 years, man. You haven't. This is it.
Don't worry, I got the stats. Do I disappoint? I hope not. I always try to make sure I bring the stats.
Best in the business, Ryan.
I appreciate you, brother. 2 tackles, both solo, a quarterback hit, a tackle for a loss, and for
what?
the first time in a long time, a quarterback sack.
What?
Von Miller's first sack since recovering from an ACL tear on November 24th, 2022. It was his last sack, his first sack, since November 13th, 2022, in that 33-30 to overtime loss to Minnesota. You know, the one where Justin Jefferson made the insane alien catch to beat the Bills? Yeah.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Von Miller,
I do remember that.
Career total now at 124.5 sacks, one shy of Hall of Fame defensive end Dwight Freeney for 18th all time.
Oh, let's go get that. Let's tie Dwight Freeney in on Thursday there, Vaughn.
Smack the taste out of Tua Tagovailoa's mouth. Linebacker Terrell Bernard, team leading 11 tackles, 10 solo. Bernard, flat out, John, a dog. Vision of play.
That was me. That wasn't the soundboard, by the way.
That was a good dog right there. Vision of play development was off the charts on Sunday. Played 100% of the defensive snaps, 61 total plays. Cornerback Cam Lewis stepping in for an injured Taron Johnson. 10 tackles, 7 solo. As mentioned, Taron Johnson injured. Left the game on the first drive with a forearm injury. Did not return. Ended up playing only 7 defensive snaps. He's been ruled out of Thursday night's game at Miami. Head coach Sean McDermott said, quote, "I don't know his timeline on when he'll be back. We are still doing further research on that." I have to believe, the guess here being that he may have broken something in that forearm, which a good Twitter user pointed out that Dallas Goedert did the same thing last year, missed about a month. No matter what, Johnson's absence from the Buffalo Bills lineup will be a big, big, big hole. He is one of the best, if not the best, nickel corners in the game. But again, a guy like Cam Lewis stepped up on Sunday, and he'll have to continue stepping up if this Bills defense wants to be good. Speaking of cornerbacks, Brandon Codrington, we talked about him last week. That that first trade the Buffalo Bills made with the Jets in, I don't know, my lifetime. The first kick return, his first career kick return was for 53 yards, the longest kick return by a Bills rookie in their debut since Marcus Easley's 55-yard return in 2012 versus Jacksonville Week 13. Again, the dynamic kickoff, John, may not be so dynamic for the Buffalo Bills if Codrington keeps showing this kind of speed ability. So you think about it, you're like, well, that's a bad thing for the Bills, but if they're not getting the ball kicked to them, it's a good thing, right? Because they're scared of this guy.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, to our earlier point, and we'll probably talk about this a little more as it goes on and as the reps continue with these dynamic kickoffs and we start to see how it truly develops at this level of pro football. I think we're in for some interesting storylines here to be created.
We absolutely are, I would have to say. Also, Buffalo held running back James Conner to 50 yards and 1 touchdown on 16 carries. That's 3.1 yards per carry. Held quarterback Kyler Murray to 162 passing yards and 1 touchdown on 21 of 31 attempts. Held Arizona to only 80 yards in the second half. And Pro Football Focus reports that Buffalo Bills starting cornerbacks Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas were targeted just 3 times combined the whole game, John. Gave up only 2 catches for 4 yards. So again, those Bills cornerbacks
doing the thing,
putting some fear of God into the other team. So
dogs.
I know we're running tight on time. Want to make sure we get everything in here. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Trust the Podcast right after this on the Gear Radio Network. And we're back here on Trust the Podcast. Myself, Ryan Wolfe, joined as always, John Cimino. Our Around the NFL segment, John, our BLTD in the TTP podcast.
Yeah, buddy.
Brought to you by.
It's like Ralph Wiggum said, that's where I'm a Viking.
When you said it last week, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to bring it back. And then you're like, I can't wait for that. And I'm like, then we're bringing it back. So again,
bring it back, baby. Bring it back. I like it. All right. For time constraints here, it's brought to you by Go Frost Yourself. And because of the time constraints in the studio here, I will save the Randy Savage reading of this version of this commercial for next week. But located in Rochester, New York, Go Frost Yourself does what other local bakeries do not. They bake from scratch, creating recipes themselves and using the best fresh ingredients they can to create delicious flavors for customers daily. Molly and Jen. Hello, Molly. Hello, Jen. They've worked tirelessly to create what Go Frost Yourself has become today, and their passion can be tasted in the items that they bake. When you find yourself looking for an item for a special occasion, or maybe you just want to try their incredible cinnamon rolls, if you are local to the 585, you can go visit Go Frost Yourself storefront at 2544 Ridgeway Avenue or at gofrostyourself.com. Side note, if you see Mad Dog Bobby Rogers there, you tell him JC Money said hello. Back to you, Ryan.
You may get something for it. I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but you may get something for it.
Oh, I love the Mad Dog. I love the Bubba.
He's great. He is still fantastic. Still the best guy.
Absolute and also absolute friggin' legend in the wrestling scene here in Western New York. Absolute friggin' legend.
Our week 1 wrap up. Philadelphia, they defeated the Green Bay Packers 34-29. Philadelphia running back Saquon Barkley, his first game after signing a 3-year, $37.75 million deal with the Eagles last offseason. John, ho-hum, 24 carries for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns with 2 receptions for 2 targets for 23 yards, or 2 receptions on 2 targets for 23 yards and a touchdown. Holy Guacamole, brother.
I tried to call my friends over at the Giants, specifically left a voicemail for the Mara family to see how they felt, and they haven't got back to me at all. In fact, I cannot even confirm that I was even routed to the Mara's family voicemail.
I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay quarterback Jordan Love injured with 6 seconds remaining in the game. He suffered an MCL sprain, expected to miss a few weeks. Recently acquired quarterback Malik Willis from the Tennessee Titans will take
Malik time.
12 career games, 1-2 record with 350 passing yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks, and 32 rushing attempts for 144 yards and a rushing touchdown. Green Bay says they have not contacted anybody. Rumors are out there that Ryan Tannehill was reportedly contacted, which would not be a bad idea. I think if you're looking for
it'd be a great idea for Green Bay. I think it would be a great idea for Green Bay. He plays a very similar game to Jordan Love, except not as good.
How pissed do you got to be, though, to be Malik Willis, where you're like, finally, I got away from Tennessee. I got away from that guy.
Only to come back. I did not even put that together. That is very, very that's very awesome. But in all seriousness, for Green Bay, awful for Jordan Love, awful for Green Bay. The dude's their QB1 for the future. He signed the big deal, and for it to happen the way that it did. But first of all, let me just go back really quickly. That field in Brazil was absolute garbage juice.
You could just say flat out, it was dog shit. You just don't.
I don't
got to color it. We don't got to be funny. We don't got to say dog. No, just call it what it is what it is.
It was terrible, and I feel like, for the big pitch that the NFL always puts on about player safety, when you see those players that are running on these fields internationally that are built for, quite frankly, much smaller individuals that play football, football, soccer football to Americans. But they play soccer. That's what that field is for. It's that tight. It's for those type of cleats. It's for non 300-pound men to run around back and forth and just, kind of do their thing. You were seeing slipping left and right. I know week 1, typically tackling is not the best in week 1 as people are getting their reps in. But my goodness, when you have a field that people are slipping left and right and they can't tackle on either side of the ball, like, what do you expect? So honestly,
pretty bad.
But besides that, as well as the safety concerns, the no water, the whole night, I mean, the NFL really fumbled this one. Like, I get the concept. Hey, let's have a whole weekend. There we go. But like, seriously, like, I get the idea is let's have football. Let's make it an event. Let's make opening week an event, not just a 1-day thing or a 2-night thing. Let's make it a 3 or 4-night thing. I get that. That's where the NFL is going. But for the love of God, can we at least either invest a little bit into these locations that you want to bring the NFL to so you can kind of keep up with that player safety narrative, or don't go there at all and give the people their home game back?
I get going on the road to open the season, fun new places, fun new things, spreading the game across the world. But Roger Goodell said it. They're not really looking to expand the league internationally. They keep talking about it because the quality of play will diminish because it's 53 more guys.
Well, yeah.
But here's the thing. If you're not going to do that,
why
stop doing this shit then?
Exactly. That's the thing. Limit it to 1 game a year. 1 game a year I could understand, but they're doing it like
England is fine. Like going to Germany, going to England, because again, those stadiums are up to par. You're playing in Wembley, you're playing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Sure, even Canada over at Rogers Center.
I mean, at this point, that that was playing on green concrete. I mean, that was pretty rough, but I understand what you're saying. Yes. Go play in Canada where the CFL play, like literally go to places where football teams play, not hey, there's a stadium in the streets. Like, it's really cool. They play.
There's a stadium put together by a couple of people trying to escape the law. Like, okay, cool. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I'm not saying that had anything to do. That had nothing. I'm not saying that had anything to do with Jordan Love and his injury. Obviously, that was, what it was. But I have to believe that MCL sprain, or at least not the MCL sprain, not the, it was even before then, he was kind of limping a little bit. And I think it had something to do with when he was planting, he went and he kind of slipped a little bit because of the field condition. He was limping a little bit too.
We saw Saquon Barkley's first carry as a Philadelphia Eagle. We're never going to forget that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's just, again,
it was, anyways, be better, NFL.
Speaking of embarrassing, Kansas City defeats Baltimore 27-20 by a literal toe. That was cool. What was not cool?
You know, I don't know why that made me think of the Deion Sanders meme.
I thought about that too. Could you imagine if Deion was the guy who caught the ball? He was like ripped his shoe off and was like, "Look at my toe." But the refs put on a show on opening night for sure. Per Ravens.com editorial director Ryan Mink, quote, Ronnie Stanley was flagged 3 times for illegal formations, including twice on Baltimore's opening touchdown drive, while Ravens right tackle Patrick McCarry was also penalized for an illegal formation once. The Chiefs were not penalized at all for illegal formation. You know, and they have the worst offender in Jawan Taylor, who literally did I get his name right? I think so. He literally jumps offside on every goddamn play.
Oh, you want to talk about the referee show? The Friday night game was a ref show as well. There was 13, 14 different penalties, I think, in the first half. They were just throwing flags all over. It just, again, be better, NFL. You should have had this referee stuff.
Also, he is the guy's name. Now. He had 17 penalties last year for being, he literally jumps every snap. There's videos of it where you don't even have to watch it in slow motion. You watch it in normal motion or real life time, whatever you humans call that.
Sure.
And you can see it. He jumps every time.
Every time, humanoids.
Running tight on time again because I got to go help put my daughter to sleep. So we're going to
go through the rest of this.
Chicago defeats Tennessee 24-17. The big story here, Caleb Williams, Chicago Bears quarterback, 14 of 29, 93 passing yards with 5 rushes for 15 yards. Not
freaking
great.
Torched him.
Made a lot of people pissed off with his orange fingernails. Get over it, you boomers.
Yeah,
Caleb Williams, the big deal here, becomes the first overall pick to win his first initial start since David Carr led the Houston Texans past the Dallas Cowboys on September 8th, 2000. The streak began in 2003 with Cincinnati Bengal quarterback Carson Palmer. And first overall picks had been a combined 14-1 since that day. So Caleb Williams and his orange fingernails broke the streak. Get bent, you freaking boomers. Houston defeats Indianapolis 29-27.
We got salty Ryan today.
Joe Mixon had a great game. We're not going to talk about it because we're running out of time. We're going to talk about Houston wide receiver Stephon Diggs. 6 receptions on 6 targets for 33 yards and 2 touchdowns. Buffalo,
good for him.
Get over it. Get over it, Buffalo.
Good for him.
Good for Stephon Diggs. Dallas defeats Cleveland. Our last thing before we look ahead. 33-17. First off, Deshaun Watson can Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott 4-year, $240 million deal announced mere hours before the game, making Prescott the first player in NFL history to average $60 million per season. That's a lot of scratch for a guy.
Ryan, what if Deshaun Watson tried to comfort you by putting his arm around your shoulder?
Dak Prescott. A lot of money for a guy who's going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. I digress, though, because give the man his flowers. Dak Prescott, a 4th round pick, 135th overall, has arguably outperformed his draft counterparts Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, obviously. Drafted 1st and 2nd overall, respectively. Prescott, 74-41, 29,638 passing yards, 203 touches, 74 picks with 1,887 rushing yards, 28 rushing touchdowns, 1 reception for 11 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown on that 11-yard reception. John, I know we give Mr. Perez crap all the time because, well, he's a Cowboys fan and it's fun to do that. But this is a no-brainer. Dallas had to make this move. They had to do whatever it took.
100%. If they didn't do this and he went somewhere else, like the New York Giants, let's say, he would. Jerry Jones, I think, would have lived to regret it.
I don't know, and I'm being very serious here. I don't know what the Dallas Cowboys need to do to make that next step. They've got a great, I would say, better than good.
They've got a really good team.
They've got an incredible defense, dude. They have arguably the best kicker in the game in Brandon Aubrey. I don't know if you saw this when he kicked a 66-yard field goal, ho-hum, when the Dallas Cowboys were called for delay of game, and he made it look easy. Like, come on. This guy
did see that. I'll tell you what the secret's going to be. Want to get over the hump.
What's that?
Bill Belichick.
Probably.
If they mark my words, if Dallas either misses the playoffs or does not make a Super Bowl run,
if they don't win the
McCarthy
Super Bowl,
ball is gone, and Hoodie is in. Mark my words, you heard it here first or second.
Just again, real quick before we go to our look ahead here, with how much they are paying CeeDee Lamb, with how much they're paying Dak Prescott, with how much they're ultimately going to have to pay Micah Parsons, that window is really, really, really tight right now. You've got a very good football team with a lot of talent. Here's the thing. If what you have right now isn't working, you've got to change something. You're not changing Dak Prescott. You're not changing the GM. The owner's not going to fire himself.
Not a chance.
There's not many. They've got some of the greatest defenders in the league. They've got one of the best pass rushers in the league. Like, again, it's
right. I get it. I get it. At some point, it's going to come to the top. It's going to have to come to the top. And McCarthy's got a habit and a history of this kind of play. When you have someone like Aaron Rodgers, whatever you think about him now, when you have someone that has the history and the equity that Aaron Rodgers has and what he has meant to the league and the quarterback position, and you don't get back to the Super Bowl at all, you don't progress any higher than the NFC Championship game. I mean, he's not Jeff Fisher bad, but he's also not very good. And I think this is going to be it for Mike McCarthy. Should Dallas do anything other than make a deep playoff run, I think McCarthy will be gone, and I think Hoodie will be in, and that's when we'll find out if the Patriot way can be a Cowboy way. And if that is the case, and if that is the case, I would expect that Dallas Cowboys team with someone like Bill Belichick, arguably one of the greatest head coaches of all time, to take them deep into the playoffs. That's what they're missing by this point now. Is
I'll forget that coaching. I said this here, but if Bill Belichick coaches the Cowboys, 14-3, winning the Super Bowl, John, our look ahead, because I'm getting the hook here. Week 2, Buffalo at Miami, Thursday Night Football on Prime Video, kickoff at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Miami 1-0, tied for first in the AFC East last week. A come from behind 20-17 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not going to dump the stats. I'm just going to tell you this one thing. We'll leave you at this, John, or leave you on this, everybody. John, ESPN match predictor, 52% of America believes Miami will come out victorious in this early season division matchup. I say, fuck those 52%. Go.
I'm in the 48, and
no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
For John Cimino, I am Ryan Wolfe. As always, we are Trust the Podcast.
You're not.
We will catch you same time, same place next week. As always, my friends, thank you for tuning in. Go Bills.
Ciao, ciao, knuckleheads.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.